Welcome back to A Heart for Home Education. My name is America, and I am mother and home educator to my 3 children, ages 10, 8, and 6. And today I am going to be sharing with you an update on how my mother's curriculum is going for this year. So if we haven't met yet, my name is America and I homeschool my 3 children, ages 10, 8, and 6. And I also share about my journey as a homeschool mom engaging in a curriculum for myself. I have previously referred to it as mother culture, which is just how a mother feeds and nourishes her own soul. The books she reads, the hobbies she engages in, the habits and practices that she does on a daily basis to help nourish her own soul so that she can in turn nourish the souls of her children. And as a classical and Charlotte Mason homeschooler, I am very much in the business of trying to lay a really wide and rich feast for my children in their homeschool curriculum. And so it's fitting for me to do the same with myself. And so I'm not perfect at this at all. So I don't want you to watch this video thinking like, wow, she does all of this every day and she does this perfectly. I don't want you to get that image in your head of me because I am just a regular person, a regular mom. Things come up, life happens, busyness happens, but I try my best over time to continue to engage in these practices. And when I fail or stumble or take time off, I try to just get right back into them because I want this to be a lifestyle that I pursue for the rest of my life and that my children watch me try to pursue and learn from my example. And so I hope that's kind of an encouragement to you that if you're in a season where you aren't engaging in some of these practices or you're not feeding your soul with the best things, that you can just pick yourself up and start again. Every single day is a new morning with new mercies, and we are able to start over and start fresh and ask the Lord for help to help us desire what is good and true and beautiful for our own souls, just because that is something good to do. That helps us to grow our love and passion for Christ, helps us to grow closer to the Lord, and then it of course helps us to have something to pour out of and into our children as we home educate them. But on this lovely early November day, let's talk about some of the things that I've been reading lately. Okay, this summer I read Anna Karenina. I think I started it in the spring, but I was able to finish it in early September, I want to say. This is an incredible story, incredibly written. I didn't expect to enjoy Tolstoy's writing so much. I don't really know why. I thought it would be, sometimes I get a little bit fearful with classics that they don't have that narrative style that I enjoy so much, just like a good story, but this totally has it. He was an incredible writer. He does dialogue really well, description really well. I love that there's some humor woven throughout the book. But ultimately, the entire message of this book has really stuck with me. I have been thinking about this book for almost 2 months since finishing it. It's just an incredible book and obviously a classic for a reason. It is a thick, big book, but it was such an enjoyable read. I would say maybe from 100 pages in to about 200 pages in, I really kind of plateaued and kind of had to fight my way through those 100 pages. It felt really slow. It felt like nothing was happening. And so I kind of listened to a couple of commentaries to just kind of whet my appetite for it again, to kind of explain some of the things, because there's a lot of Russian politics in this book, which I am definitely not completely familiar with, to be generous. But I looked up some things about what these different nuances and different characters kind of represented. And that really helped me to understand the book and have a better understanding going forward. I didn't look up any spoilers or anything, just like, what is the context that I need to know to be able to engage in this book a little bit more deeply? And so I listened to that. I listened to a couple of other kind of like podcast type things that help me to understand what I need to be looking for, which I think is really okay when we are struggling to understand a resource, to look elsewhere for help, to kind of look for a commentary, look for someone to help us so that we can in turn go ahead and love these things. Because if I hadn't done that, I don't know that I would have continued to pick it up. So I know some people may have some differing opinions or ideas on how to move forward with a resource that's really difficult, but I feel confident that this was the right choice for me to get a little bit of help. And then once I had a little bit more background and context, I happily went forward and was able to complete the other 800 pages and have the energy and stamina to do so. So this was my evening fiction read, and it was so enjoyable and probably the highlight of my literary year. I read most of this at night while I was in bed, like 75%, but then part of it, I was commuting down south for some medical appointments over this past summer, this past spring, and it was an hour there and an hour back. And so I would listen to some of it on the way there and on the way back. I found a really nice recording on Spotify that was really beautiful to listen to and also really helped with pronouncing things. I realized how many things I was pronouncing really poorly. And so yeah, really enjoyed this one. Definitely the highlight of my literary year. And I am proud of myself for pushing through when it was a challenge and a struggle, when I just wanted to reach for something that was really easy. But once I got into it, like this became my really enjoyable, easy read. I brought this to the beach on trips and vacations, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then after Anna Karenina, I moved into C.S. Lewis's The Space Trilogy series. I had asked for this for my birthday. Someone got it for me. I read through the first book, Out of the Silent Planet, and this was coming right down after Anna Karenina. And it was good. I don't know. That's all I can say. It wasn't bad. Definitely wasn't bad. I love C.S. Lewis's writing. I just don't know how I feel about moving forward with the next two books. So please let me know if you have read this, what your experience has been. Will the other ones kind of grow on me more? I don't know. I was a little confused by some things. And I guess I just found myself feeling like I wanted to be in Narnia, not on this other planet. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I'll move forward, if I'll continue reading these other two books. Just please let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, what your feelings are on this. Obviously, if Lewis wrote it, it's probably an incredible book, but I just have always found in the past that his hooks get in you a lot sooner than they have for this one. I feel like the first whole book has been, I feel like I was hooked on the first chapter, but then the rest of it kind of just felt really slow and kind of like I didn't feel like anything really happened. So I am curious what you guys think. Should I continue reading it? What are your thoughts? Let me know. And so since I'm not super excited about moving forward with those right now, I have ordered 1984 and Joe's Boys to see if one of those will be a good fit for my evening fiction read. I read 1984 in high school, and I don't mean that I just like perused it or like, skimmed it just enough to pass a test. Like I really read it and I really enjoyed it. And I think that I would like rereading it now. So that is an option. And then I just have not read Joe's Boys. I have already read Little Women and Little Men and adore those. And so maybe now is the time for me to move on and read Joe's Boys. Louisa May Alcott is always such a comfort read for me. So maybe that will be the right fit headed into the holidays and wintertime. Some other amazing fiction that I read this year, not necessarily during my bedtime fiction. A lot of it I listen to on audiobook, but I do pretty well with audiobooks. I'm normally pretty engaged and am understanding pretty well what is going on. I know not all people like audiobooks for that reason. Some people kind of like tune it out or something, but I can do pretty well with it. And sometimes it actually helps me to understand and comprehend a little bit better, especially if there's like older English or something, or hard to pronounce names like in Anna Karenina. And so some audiobooks that I listened to earlier were like 6 of the Anne of Green Gables series. And then I listened to all of those pretty much back to back. And so by the, let's see, she just had gotten married. So whatever book that is, that's where I was like, okay, I feel like I need to take a break for a minute. Not that I wasn't loving the story, but I just feel like there is some pattern, there is some repetition and some repetitive themes that happen throughout the series, which is fine and great. But I think that I just needed a break from that pattern. And so I do plan to resume listening to those and finish those out. I think I only have 2 or 3 books left, so I would like to finish those out. Maybe before the end of the year, we will see. And now onto my Sunday Sabbath reads. So this past summer, I finished The Hidden Art of Homemaking. That was my Sunday Sabbath read. That was a really beautiful read. I really enjoyed it. Lots of people, especially in the Charlotte Mason or classical community, highly revere that book, and it was really good. I really did enjoy that one. And then once that one was done, I picked up John Senior, The Death of Christian Culture. This one is a challenge. I did not know that this would be such a challenge read. I think the challenging part is how many references he makes to other literary stories. So if you don't know, John Senior is the man behind our homeschool curriculum, which is the children's tradition. So Amanda Foss created a curriculum that is based off of John Senior's work at a college in the 80s, I believe, 70s or 80s. He basically found that his college students were not ready to engage with the great books of Western civilization because they didn't have a foundation of the good books of Western civilization. And so he compiled a list of 1,000 good books and kind of broke them up by ages and stages. Amanda Foss created a curriculum based on the 1,000 good books list from John Senior. Now, this is really oversimplifying his work because he did a lot more than that. But basically, through this 1,000 good books list that he would educate incoming college freshmen with, they were finding that a lot of these college students were converting to Christianity because of how powerful it was that all of these stories that lay the foundation to read the great books for Western civilization really point us to truth, which of course we are referring to the truth of God existing, and that there is absolute truth in that God exists, and all other truth kind of flows from that, and the truth about reality flows from that. And so these students were reading through his course list and becoming converted through these practices. And so John Senior had a full curriculum of like basically immersing these students and giving them culture that they did not have. So singing songs with them, having campfires, reading books, reading like nursery rhymes and children's books, so that these students would have a foundation to make meaning of the great books as they went on through their college career. So basically, I'm trying to read his book because that is what our homeschool curriculum is based on. And this is a really hard book to get a hold of, but I got this through Clear Creek Abbey, which is a monastery, I believe, Our Lady of Clear Creek Abbey. So it's Benedictine monks, and they sell a set of these books. So I purchased them. It's The Death of Christian Culture and the Restoration of Christian Culture. And so many of the references are so far above my head, and I'm having to stop and look them up, and he's talking about them like we all should know them, which we all should, but it just goes to prove that, you know, the death of Christian culture has happened because I don't know a lot of these things. And so I am in this, I am still reading it, I'm still working my way through it, but it has been way more of a challenge than I thought it would be. And I typically don't do too many challenge reads on the Sabbath, but also I don't know when else I want to challenge myself to read this. So this is one that is just like, it's going to feel hard, and that's okay. Maybe I'll move it to another time slot. I think I've tried it in the mornings as well, but let me know if you have any tips for reading this book. I kind of looked online, like, is there a study guide that can help me? Something, I don't know, but I really would like to read it. So I'm going to try to keep pushing through. And then my next Sunday Sabbath read is The Beloved Works of C.S. Lewis. I'm reading the first book in this volume, which is Surprised by Joy. This copy my mom got me for my birthday. It includes Surprised by Joy, Reflections of the Psalms, The Four Loves, and The Business of Heaven. So it's a really beautiful copy. It's a delight to read because it's so beautiful, and it kind of sits on my shelf so that I can look at it like this when I'm not reading it. But Surprised by Joy is kind of Lewis's autobiography origin story. I'm several chapters in, and he's still discussing his childhood and adolescence. So I'm not sure how much he talks about adulthood, but so far it's been so good. And just Lewis's voice and his storytelling and his style have been so profound and impactful through everything that I've read from him, except for the one that I talked about earlier. This is just no exception. It talks about his conversion and seeds that were planted when he was a child. Talks about like the importance of his mother in his spiritual journey, just so many things, so many beautiful, sad, heartbreaking things. And it's been a real treat to read on the Sabbath. So this is my second Sabbath theological read. And so these two are kind of my Sunday Sabbath theological reads. They've been good, they've been challenging, but I expect that these will be my Sabbath reads till the end of the year. I may switch over to something for Advent once that happens. So maybe, now that I'm thinking of it, maybe I should try to finish these before December so that I can start an Advent series once it's time for that. Okay, just some other things that I have been reading. I've been reading Consider This by Karen Glass. This is kind of the iconic Charlotte Mason classical discussion book. It kind of talks about how Charlotte Mason is a classical educator, because a lot of people think that Charlotte Mason and classical education are at odds with each other. But Karen Glass and most Charlotte Mason educators, I would say, assert that Charlotte Mason is within the stream of classical education. So even as recently as this year, we've seen companies like Memoria Press, which is a neoclassical curriculum company. They have said that Charlotte Mason is not a classical educator and have just kind of confused and muddied the waters a bit there. So reading something like this that kind of just affirms and goes over why Charlotte Mason is a classical educator and just kind of the broader scope of what true classical education really is. And so this is really a topic for a different video, but that is what kind of sparked me to read Consider This, because I have been convinced that Charlotte Mason is a classical educator already, but I just wanted a little bit of a firmer ground to stand on when I make that claim. And so this one I am over halfway done with, but I should wrap this up by the end of the year. This video is giving me motivation to like wrap these books up because it's almost the end of the year. Not that I can't carry it into the next year, but it's just good motivation to kind of check these off and head into 2026 fresh. Another book that I have recently been reading is When Culture Hates You by Natasha Crane. I have never heard of this, but I was watching Elisa Childers and she had Natasha Crane. I think they were on Frank Turek's podcast when Frank Turek was filling in for Charlie Kirk's podcast. So she talked about this book, and this is basically an apologetics book. And so I really have not read much about apologetics, and for obvious reasons, it's felt a lot more timely. And so I picked this one up. I love her reasoning. I love kind of the logic that she uses to get to the points that she makes. And she does it in a very accessible, gentle, but still like academic way. And so I have really, really enjoyed this book, and I definitely recommend it. I will link this and any other book that I can down in my Amazon storefront. If you use my link, it helps my family, but no pressure at all. If you can find it used, even better for you. But this is an incredible book, and I've really enjoyed the message of this book. So I just wanted to share about this one briefly. Two more books that I am actively listening to, just kind of, I don't know. If I need an audiobook, I kind of choose between these two or three. So I am listening to Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. That's incredible. I only have a little bit left. It's really been like the year of Lewis for me. Like I finished a lot of Lewis books this year and I have loved it. So this one has been no exception. It has just really spoken to me about like what truth is and why truth is important and how truth seeps into like every aspect of our lives, or how we should want it to. So glad that I am about to finish that. And then the second audiobook that I am listening to is The Liberal Arts Tradition. I'm listening to this one on Audible, and it's been really good. This has been one that's been really good to listen to because I think I would probably just feel intimidated by how thick it is. And I think I started listening to this while I was still reading Anna Karenina, so I wasn't looking for another thick, chunky book to engage with. So listening to it has been really good, and I kind of just pick those based on my mood and what I am looking for out of my read right then. And then another one is Formation of Character by Charlotte Mason. I am listening to that one as well in bits and pieces. And so all three of those audiobooks have been fantastic. Some other audiobooks that I listened to this year were My Dear Hemlock by Tilly Dillahay. Oh my goodness, you have got to read that book. That was an incredible book. I read Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. the C.S. Lewis theme for this year. I read that this spring, I believe, and then I saw the Tilly DeLahaye book this summer and I listened to it and it was so incredible. So I read 2 books this year of like, the mentor demon writing a letter to the under demon who is trying to attack man. And in Screw Tape Letters, he is just trying to attack a man. You really don't learn much about specifically what's going on in the man's life, but each chapter is kind of a different principle on how a demon might tempt you in a certain realm of your life. So in your marriage, in your parenting, in your career, with your entertainment and comfort and finances. And so there was that version, which was just incredible. And I think I talked about that in my spring or summer mother culture update. But then Tilly DeLahaye's book is written specifically to women right now. So the women of this cultural moment right now. And I didn't know if it would be like too on the nose, but it was incredible to have a book written that way, in that style, dealing with what we go through now as modern women. And so having both of them, it was a really good pairing, and I'm really happy I read both of them. But there were so many things in Tilly DeLahaye's book that I really needed to hear, that I really needed to be convicted about and to change. And so I highly, highly recommend that one. Listening to it or purchasing it, whichever you can. It was a really, really good book. Something I do want to bring on for the rest of the year is reading a little bit more poetry for me. I read poetry to the kids for our homeschool every morning, but I would like to read these poems to kind of challenge me a little bit more and just to engage in the beautiful art of poetry more personally. And so I have had this for a couple of years. This is All the Year in the Garden, Nature's Calendar, I think. And I got this from Riverbend Press. And this has a different poem for every day of the year. So you just kind of follow along and read the poem of the day. And so it's a very simple way to get some poetry in. And this is like higher level poetry than what my children are listening to right now. So I would like to bring this into my morning time when I'm reading scripture and praying, to just read a quick little poem to myself. I think that would be really soul nourishing and delightful. So now to talk about a little bit of handicrafts for the mother. Part of my mother's curriculum is having a handicraft and doing it. Recently, I have picked back up my knitting basket and I want to get back into knitting. I took a break over the summer just because it didn't feel like the right hobby activity for summer. But now that it is cooling off, I really want to get back into it. I need some more inspiration though, because there are only so many scarves that a beginning knitter can make. But I also don't feel super ready to like go beyond just like basic knitting. So I don't know, maybe I need to find like a local class or someone in my area at my church or something that knows how to knit that can kind of teach me. So I am doing a lot of knitting. My kids are still crocheting. So I definitely want to continue knitting, making some Christmas gifts, things like that. The other thing that I am really excited about is cross stitching. I really don't know anything about it, but I have this and I have a gift that I want to make for someone, and it came in a little kit. And so I'm going to try my best to do some cross stitching. And I think it would be really fun because I love these. I have a couple like cross stitch things that I like to hang on my walls, and I would love to be able to make these. So I am feeling a little bit determined to learn how to cross stitch so that I can fill my house with little cross stitched things. And I think these would make really cute gifts as well. And I think it's just a soothing activity, especially I have 3 kids who read to me daily. So that takes up a lot of my time. They're all doing really well. They're all doing great for their ages and stages and everything. But sometimes it's a little tedious, sometimes a little monotonous, and sometimes it's frustrating. And so having something to keep my hands busy that is soothing while I listen to kids read is really, really helpful. It really calms me down. It helps me to be more present, actually. It also helps me to not correct their errors so immediately. Something that I learned with teaching children how to read is, especially older students, this may be a little different for younger students, but it's to let them read the entire sentence, because it's a skill that they need to have to like get to the end of a sentence and say like, oh, that one word didn't sound right, or I made that one word plural, but I think it should actually be singular, something like that. And getting to the end of a sentence and being able to go back and self-correct is really helpful and beneficial for them. And so sometimes I kind of like need to be a little bit more quiet and let them figure out their own errors. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this update on my mother's curriculum. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I talked about down below, what your thoughts were on them. And based on what I have liked and enjoyed this year, let me know what you think I should read next or what I should include in my 2026 reading plan that I will be thinking about here soon. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Let me know what is on your mother's curriculum for the rest of this year, what you've been enjoying, what you've been reading. I always so enjoy reading all of the comments and hearing from you all. So thank you again for being here, and I will see you in the next video.